Distortion is the crux of almost every great sound and mix, but it can be as discrete as this, or as extreme as this. So how do you know which mode of distortion is correct for you? Let's look at the 4 different levels of distortion and when to use each type. Level 1. Transistor. Most audio processing hardware is built up of transistors, and this in turn adds a level of saturation to the incoming audio signal. A good example is when mix engineers use an 1176 on an insert, but the needle is barely moving. This is because they want to impart the character, vibe, and warmth of the transistor onto the actual audio signal. If you have a clean signal and you want it to remain fairly clean, transistor-based saturation is your best friend. Level 2. Tape. Tape machines compress the incoming audio signal and clip the waveform, resulting in odd harmonics. This sound is often associated with glue, warmth, and cohesion. A great example is the drum bus. Often people forget that the drums is lots of different instruments. Summing them together on a bus with a tape machine makes them feel like one big instrument as opposed to lots of individual different parts in a mix. Level 3. Tube. Tube saturation comes from vacuum tubes or valves and is often referred to as being very musical and warm due to its odd and even harmonic generation. Tube saturation comes primarily in 2 main forms, triodes and pentodes. Triodes are great at generating a more subtle form of saturation, generating even harmonics and a very fat and warm sound favoured by mix engineers for low end. On the other hand, pentode tubes are much more aggressive and edgy. This is due to the fact that they create odd harmonics when driven. Use pentode tubes when you want the distortion to be the focus of the sound or in more creative use cases. And finally, level 4, digital. Digital distortion can mean many different things. Unlike analog distortion, which can add warmth and colour, digital distortion is often described as being gritty or harsh. This is because it abruptly cuts the waveform rather than rounding it off. Digital distortion is widely used today in new forms of electronic music and sound design due to its advanced capabilities. Bit crushing, phase distortion, and wavefolding are all terms associated with digital synthesis and digital distortion. The beauty of modern plugins, though, is we can now blend digital and analog distortion types together to create completely new modes of distortion. Here, we can combine tube and tape distortion with this feedback section, which places all of the distortion modes into a feedback delay network. This is just a fancy way to say that it can create really unique and wild distortion modes, very different to tube, transformer, and tape. Now we've only just scratched the surface, but hopefully you now have an understanding of the different types of distortion and when to use them.